So we all remember the conclusion of the last Mercury game. Well, towards the end of the last Mercury game. I can't say it was the conclusion because it wasn't at the very end. But in the fourth quarter, with about 5 minutes left.
One call. That's all it takes. A single whistle in a Caitlin Clark game can become one of the biggest talking points in sports within an hour. Few players in the league generate the kind of attention and reaction that Clark does. What might be considered a routine foul in another game suddenly becomes a major debate when she's involved. Fans dissect every angle, analysts weigh in, and social media quickly fills with opinions from every side. So, why does it seem like every official who makes a call involving Clark ends up under intense scrutiny? Let's take a closer look and break down exactly why these moments generate so much attention.
Thomas coming to take a look at. Oh, yeah, that's
saw the elbow extend from behind, and
that's not going to get overturned, I don't think.
To understand the intensity of the debate, you first have to understand the spotlight. Caitlin Clark didn't simply enter the WNBA. She helped expand its audience in a way few players ever have. Games featuring Clark attract a different level of attention, and arenas that once had noticeable empty seats are now drawing massive crowds. However, there's a trade-off that rarely gets discussed. When millions of new viewers start watching, every single whistle gets examined. Every call is slowed down, zoomed in on, and replayed from multiple angles. Officiating decisions that might have passed without much discussion in previous years are now placed under a microscope. More attention doesn't just bring more fans. It also brings more scrutiny, more debate, and more outrage over moments that, in the past, might have been forgotten by the next possession.
Body and hip of Thomas. The result of the play will be 2 free throws because of the defensive foul, and we're in the penalty. This is a successful challenge. The timeout will be charged to Indiana because they're due. Phoenix will retain their timeout.
Now, here's where the debate really divides. People point one side watches a play like that and sees a superstar taking heavy contact without receiving the calls they believe a player of her stature deserves. The other side watches the exact same footage and sees standard WNBA physicality, with a guard occasionally trying to sell contact in hopes of earning a whistle. What's fascinating is that both groups are looking at the same clips, the same angles, and the same sequence of events, yet they walk away with completely different conclusions. That's not a coincidence. It's what happens when one player becomes the focal point of a much larger conversation. At that stage, people aren't just reacting to a single play anymore. They are bringing their own opinions, frustrations, and beliefs into the discussion. As a result, Caitlin Clark often becomes the centerpiece of debates that extend far beyond the game itself.
like we thought. Listen, I would say this, okay? When you see the elbow, you go, oh. If she
We both said, oh, going to break.
She could have caught, if she caught her, that would have been, could have been.
But watch what happens next, because this is the part that should concern everyone. No matter which side you're on, a controversial call often stops being about the call itself. The conversation quickly shifts to the person wearing the striped shirt. Fans start searching for names, digging through backgrounds, and turning a single judgment call into a debate about someone's character. Let's be clear about this. There is no evidence that officials are conspiring against Caitlin Clark. There is no proof of directives coming from the league office, no secret agenda, and no smoking gun showing a referee holding a personal grudge. What we do have is a difficult job, a questionable decision, and millions of people analyzing it in real time. Disagreeing with a call is completely fair. Criticizing officiating is part of sports. However, tracking down an individual official and turning them into the villain of the week is where the conversation starts to lose perspective. At that point, the discussion is no longer about basketball. It's about assigning blame to a person rather than addressing the actual play.
Thomas went on to miss a free throw, and Caitlin Clark started clapping immediately after this play. Now, that is not just the only saga that has taken place in this basketball game. We have many people in the media calling Caitlin Clark a flopper, calling her.
So, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. What is really happening here? The WNBA is experiencing the fastest growth in its history, and Caitlin Clark is right at the center of it all. That growth is exciting and transformative, but it also brings increased scrutiny. Every controversial moment gets magnified. Every complaint finds an audience, and every close call quickly becomes content. The debate surrounding officiating in Clark's games isn't just one discussion. It's a collection of different arguments all wrapped into the same conversation. Beneath the noise, there is a legitimate basketball discussion that deserves more attention. Is Clark absorbing more contact than the officials are calling? Many basketball fans believe she is. Does she, like countless elite guards before her, occasionally exaggerate contact in hopes of drawing a whistle? Some people believe that too. The reality is that both things can be true at different moments within the same game. The honest truth is that officiating at this level is incredibly difficult. It can be inconsistent across the entire league, not just in games involving Clark. Star players in every sport have always existed in that gray area between receiving the benefit of the doubt and being targeted by opponents. What has changed isn't necessarily the officiating itself, it's the audience. When millions of new viewers are introduced to a sport, a missed call no longer disappears after the next possession. Instead, it's clipped, shared, captioned, and directed toward a specific individual. That's where caution becomes important. Fans have every right to be frustrated by questionable calls. They can argue for more consistency, transparency, and accountability from officials, and those concerns are valid. However, the moment the conversation shifts toward labeling a referee as corrupt, it stops being about basketball. As mentioned before, there is no evidence supporting those accusations. A league doesn't improve by allowing officials to become targets every time a whistle doesn't go someone's way. Real accountability looks very different. It involves reviewing calls, publishing officiating reports similar to other major sports leagues, grading and training referees, and openly acknowledging mistakes when they occurred. It's not dramatic. It's not exciting. But it's the only approach that truly improves the game. Outrage may feel productive, but in reality, it rarely changes anything except identifying the next person to receive criticism online. It's also worth noticing how Clark herself typically handles these situations. She competes hard, reacts emotionally in the heat of the moment like any great competitor, and then lets her performance speak for itself. More often than not, the people most upset about officiating aren't the players on the court. That should tell us something about where much of the anger is really coming from. So, here's the question. Do you genuinely want better officiating in this league? Officiating that is consistent, reviewable, and accountable for everyone? Or do you simply want someone to blame when a call doesn't go your team's way? Those are two very different goals, and only one of them truly makes the sport better.